guys, y'all hung in there with me the first time when it was a total catastrophe and a failure, but today, power tools and better shit. So we're going to try to put this damn thing together. Hang in there with me. This is a rod right here that the internal spring rides on, or internal springs. There are two of them. It's hollow, as you can see. Alright, and this is a 1/8 inch thick welding rod that fits through the center of this rod. We're going to use all of this to put this thing back together, or at least I hope so. Alright, there's a shot of it with the internal spring and the rod that the 1/8 inch rod and the metal rod all put together right there. Alright, and there's a quick shot of all of this put together. Now, with this rod right here, according to a really good friend of mine on Airgun Nation, we're going to be able to put this thing together. So, I'm going to take some of these clamps, I'm going to drill a hole in them so this rod will pass through, and then I'll be back with you. Alright, now what I'm going to do now is drill a hole right through the center of this so that that rod can pass through as it's compressed. Alright, the rod is 1/8 inch diameter, so I'm going to use a 5/32 drill bit to go through the center of this. I want it to have clearance, but I don't want it to flop around. Alright, now this end here, here's where I'm about to attach it. Let me show you. On the receiver, there's this very narrow shelf. Now, there's not a lot for it to grab hold to, so what I'm going to do is once I put that end of it on it, I'm going to use the other clamp to secure it. That way it doesn't pop off when I put pressure on it. Alright, there it is all clamped down. You can see it's right here on this shelf. And this right here is securing it so it won't move around on me. And that's the only purpose of this other clamp. Okay, now the next thing you're going to need to do is insert your piston. The piston is the one that doesn't have the hole through it inside of the compression chamber. Now when you put this together, push it all the way forward, and the teeth should be pointing up on the piston. In my original video I did it backwards, and that's not the right way. This is how it goes together. The teeth are pointed up. Once you get this assembled, then take the compression chamber with the piston and go ahead and slide it in the gun, line up the little breech nipple, and push it forward. It's real self-explanatory. Now once you get that piece in, you're going to need to put this spacer in. It goes in with the rings forward and pointed up. They'll line up with this. So just take this spacer. You'll probably have to wiggle it around a little bit to get it to fit. And then once you get it in there, it'll stop right there. And you can it's opened up right through here so that you can see the gears, and you can see the gears of the lower piston. Okay, to give you a better idea of what this actually looks like in the gun, you can see that spacer along with the compression chamber. That'll let you know that that's where the pistons slide in and out, is inside of that. Okay, once you get this far, then you're going to want to insert the spring. So just take the spring with that rod in the middle of it, push it till it bottoms out in the piston, and then push the spring in, wiggle it around, and it'll go in there a little bit deeper. Once you get to that point, then we're ready to start getting ready to put the rear piston in and compress it. Alright, now when you get ready to put the rear piston in, you're going to need something to space this, because this has to go slightly inside of this. It can't be sticking out and get the gun assembled and make it fire. So you'll need some kind of spacer. Any kind of washer will do. This just happens to be a double spring washer out of an FWB. I rebuilt a bunch of them, so I had it laying around. And here's what you'll do on the end of it. Okay, now since the other one the teeth pointed up, this one the teeth is going to point down. So take the counterbalance, stick it, and get the rod through that hole, and run it all the way up. Once you do that, what you're going to want to do is put this washer on there, and that'll give you a little extra room to maneuver. Once that is on there, then slide this forward and make sure that rod goes through that hole. And from there, you're ready to start compressing it. Now what this rod will do is it will make sure that everything stays straight in here and doesn't bind. Without this rod, these springs just go crazy inside of here. So I'm fixing to back the camera out, get a better look, and we'll finish compressing it. Now as you do this, go slow. You're going to have to make sure that this thing stays fairly straight and that it doesn't get in a bind. If it gets in a bind, stop and back it out. Keep an eye on your front to make sure that it hasn't popped loose. As you get closer, it's going to get a little harder. And just keep going until it's close to bottoming out. Now this thing has a lot of tension on it once you get it this far in there. That being said, if this piston does pop out, it's going to leave a hole in the wall. So like I say, make sure and keep an eye on your front clamp to make sure that it hasn't moved. Now once you get it about to here, like I said, that red is going just inside, just barely inside. It's supposed to be inside of it 0.3 of a millimeter, which is about right there. So now I'm going to stop and I'm going to try to get the gears in. Okay guys, sorry that it's moving just a hair, but I wasn't able to use my mount and get this shot. You can see the gears at top and bottom. Now once you get that where you can see them clearly, you're going to need to get the spacing right with a screwdriver. Just a second and I'll show you what goes in there. Alright, now there's an up close look at the gear. Now each one of these gears is the same on either side. It doesn't have a flat side and a round side. They both have a beveled side. So you can flip it if you can't get it lined up exactly right. Now once you get these gears in there, you're going to put these covers on. Okay, now these covers are very finely threaded and very easy to tear up. So once you get the gear in there, if you can't get the cover on, what you'll need to do is play with the tension at the rear of it until you get everything out of a bind. It should go in there with just minimal finger tension. If it doesn't, then you know you did something wrong. There's a quick look at the gear and the insides of that cover. You can see the pin that the gear actually idles on. There's a quick look at the other side before I start assembling. As you can see, it's too close together. So what you'll need to do is make sure and open this up with a screwdriver and before you tack the other side. Also, you can see the end of that gear right there where the actual piston is about 1 tooth behind it. So the only way to get this timed out right is they both need to be about the same number of teeth showing so that you know you got it balanced. Thanks for watching, guys.